Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today, I thought it would be a fun idea to look at the top 20 highest paid players in the NHL and grade the remainder of their contract, how many years and term that they have left. Considering last week I did my top 10 best and worst contracts. 2 days ago, I did my top 20 highest scorers, more or less. Gotta combine the two and look at this. I think I did this like at the start of last season, but we're gonna update it. We're gonna be grading all 20 of these contracts. So without further ado, it's gonna be by AAV. Like, and going down to term doesn't really affect, it affects the grade, but it doesn't affect who's placed here. So we're going to get into it. Up first at the top highest paid player as of right now is Austin Matthews, 4 years left at $13.25 million. I'm going to go with an A. I know that he is the highest paid player in the NHL, but when looking at this guy, yes, maybe there's a little bit more desired come playoff time, but when he's healthy, outside of 2023, if you get 2021, 2022, 2024, Austin Matthews, that is legit like $15 million guy, at least in the regular season. He gives you around 60-ish goals, 100, 110-ish points, as well as Selke level defense at this point. So although, again, he is the highest paid player in the NHL, I think that he is more than worth that heading into next season as long as he can stay healthy. So he gets an A. I think it's a very good contract by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not an A+, because maybe if it was like 8 years and they could just continue to grow with the cap, but knowing Austin Matthews is probably going to sign some like 8 years, $16 million contract once this current one is up. Up next, Nathan MacKinnon has 7 years left at $12.6 million. This is an A as well. I think that you could argue that this is even an A+, considering it's $650K less, as well as you get some more term on it. Now, MacKinnon is going to be 29 years old in a month, but when looking at him, 140 points this season, heart-winning, 51 goal scoring, broke the 50-goal mark. So he, like Austin Matthews, when he's healthy, $15 to $16 million player. So only at $12.6 million, and I assume that he is going to age fine even into his mid-30s. He's probably going to be around the $12 to $13 million player, as well as the salary cap going up. Great deal by the Colorado Avalanche. Again, even though he was the highest paid player for a season, there's a reason. With these top 5 high echelon guys, they're worth whatever I think the max amount that you can pay someone is like $16-17 million percentage of the cap wise. They're worth it. Another guy that's also worth 16, 17, he could be worth like 18, 19 million is Austin Matthews, who has 2 years left at $12.5 million. This is an easy A+, even in like his down year in 2022, where he still won the Art Ross and had 124 points. Even this year was like technically a down year. He is still worth the max, the absolute max. So at 2 years left, 12.5. It's an easy A+. Next up, we got Artemi Panarin, 2 years left at $11.6 million. I'm going to go with a B+. Last year, solely last year, I agree, $14 million player, 49 goals, 71 assists, 120 points. Is he going to replicate that next year? I still think he's going to be around the 100-ish point guy, but probably closer to being worth around 12, maybe 12.5, or it could go lower. He is 33 years old. He's going to be 33 years old in October. So when looking at Panarin, this time last year, probably would have given the remaining 3 years $11.6 million, coming off a 92-point season in 82 games. It probably would have been like a C+ or something like that, but he bounced back, and he should be worth around 11.6, maybe even more for the final 2 years of his contract. Next up, we got an 8-year deal. We got Elias Pettersson, 8 years, $11.6 million. I'm going to go with the B+ as well. It really depends. If we get the Elias Pettersson that was the first half of this season, as well as the 2023 season, the guy that is a 100-point Selke level guy, this could probably be an A, but he did kind of shit the bed towards the end of last season. So as a result, I'm going to go with the B+ right now, maybe an A-. I think he's definitely going to be around the top 10 center throughout the duration of this deal. It does kick in when he's only 25 years old, so you're getting most of his prime years. Maybe by the end, he might regress a little bit, but against salary cap going up. So I think Pettersson right now, a B+, and I think assuming he bounces back fully like we know he's capable of, probably an A- if I updated this in the middle of next season. Erik Karlsson, 3 years left, $11.5 million. This is going to be a D+. I do like Erik Karlsson. I still think that he is a number 1 defenseman in this league. Went from 101 points all the way down to 56, but I think he's going to bounce back next season. I think he's going to be a 65 to 70 point guy once they get that power play back on. But at $11.5 million, the highest paid defenseman in the NHL right now, considering the fact that he recently turned 34 and has 3 years left at 11.5, it is objectively a bad deal. It's a bad deal. He's probably going to be a $9 to $10 million guy next year, then 8 to 9 the year after, then 7 to 8. So at 11.5, it's still a horrible deal, although it's definitely not a bottom 10 worst contract in the NHL. But I think as of right now, you got to give this at least a C-, considering he is just getting paid so goddamn much money. Next up, William Nylander, 8 years, $11.5 million. I'm going to be a little bit harsh on this. I'm going to give it a B minus. Again, you look at after he signed this deal, he reverted back to being around a point per game guy, 44 points in his final 45 games once he signed this deal. I still think he's a low 90-ish point guy, but when you look at some of the other forwards around him making this amount of money, and he doesn't really contribute that much defensively like an Elias Pettersson, and he's a winger. So as of right now, I'm going to go with the B minus from William Nylander. He's definitely closer to a B at a B minus than closer to a C plus, but I'm really just not that high in the deal. At the time, I thought it was a little bit rich, and immediately after, although he did play pretty good in the playoffs, I don't think that he is this legit 100-point guy going forward. So at 11.5, it kicks in at 28 years old. So although you're probably going to get another 2 to 3 year prime years, it's not like a Pettersson that kicks in at 25. So I don't love this deal at this point. At 8 years, 11.5, I'm going to have to go with a B minus. David Pastrnak, 7 years left at 11.25. It gets an A. I think you could maybe even argue for an A plus if he was like 2 to 3 years younger. When looking at this, it was a sizable contract when he signed it. I liked it at the time, but especially like I was talking about with William Nylander, the fact that Nylander got 8 years, 11.5. The fact Pettersson got 8 years, 11.6. And now Pasternak's deal just 1 year in looks much better compared to those guys. He is a far better Pettersson, if he's fully on, maybe you can make an argument over Pastrnak. You can't right now, but Pastrnak is a legit offensive engine, a guy that has put up back-to-back 110-point seasons. He is truly worth $14 million to the Boston Bruins as of right now. He is 28 years old. He is starting to get up there in age, but I still think for another 3 to 4 years, he can be a one-man engine to this team, and even at $11.25 million in 3 to 4 years, that's not going to be that much. So as a result, I'm going to go with an A. Next up, Drew Doughty, 3 years left. $11 million. Gets a D plus for me. Same line of thinking with Erik Karlsson. I still think Drew Doughty is a legit number one defenseman, but he's a middle of the pack number one defenseman. He's not a top 10 defenseman at this point. He can still eat 26 minutes and put up very solid results, but at $11 million, considering he's 34 years old, he turned 35 in December, it's not a good deal. It's objectively not a good deal for a number one that only gives you 50 points offensively for the next 3 seasons. He's only going to get worse, most likely. It's not a D, it's not a D minus, but I think D plus is just about fair for Drew Doughty. Next up, we got Rasmus Dahlin, 8 years, $11 million, same AAV as Drew Doughty. I'm going to go with the B plus. I don't think this is a steal by any stretch. I don't think it's a bad deal. I've seen some people compare it to like how much Adam Fox, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, and Miro Heiskanen are making. I don't like those comparisons because all of those deals were signed during the flat cap era. And Dahlin is the first guy to get a mega deal, to get back to these mega deals like Drew Doughty and like Erik Karlsson signed back in the day. So I think this is a perfectly good deal for a legit top 10 defenseman that is only 24 years old, that's only going to get better most likely. And even over the last 2 years, what do you have? 73 points in 2023. This year was a down year. He had 20 goals, 59 assists. So in looking at Rasmus Dahlin, this is a good deal. And especially in 3 years, once Makar and Hughes signed for $12 to $13 million, we're all going to be like, okay, Dahlin's only making 11. Right now, it sticks out like a sore thumb, but I still think that he is well worth it considering you're getting basically his entire prime across this contract. And as a result, I have him at a B plus. Also at $11 million, we have John Tavares. I'm going to go with a D plus. Yes, the same grade as Drew Doughty. I think Drew Doughty's a better player. Don't get me wrong, but John Tavares only has 1 year left versus Drew Doughty 3 years left. I don't think when you compare the overall value of the contract, I think Drew Doughty's like a $9.5 million defenseman right now, but he has 3 years, so that's more negative value across the overall contract. Versus John Tavares next year should be yet again around mid-60s. Maybe he gets back into the 70s in terms of points. Doesn't offer a ton defensively. He's probably a $7 to $8 million player just solely next year, and it's only 1 more year. Again, if Tavares had 3 years left, it would be a D, maybe even a D minus. He only has 1 year left. It's not the end of the world. He just gets a straight D plus. Mitch Marner, another Toronto Maple Leaf. I'm going to go with a B plus. When looking at Marner making $10.9 million for 1 more season, regular season wise, he's easily worth $10.9 million. You can hate him, but in the regular season, this guy shows up around 100-point pace, Selke level defense. I don't think you can deny that. Yes, the playoffs, there's a lot more to be desired when it comes to Mitch Marner and his overall play and physicality and engagement level. But next year, $10.9 million for a guy that's a probably top 25 player in the NHL, one of the best two-way wingers in the NHL, 10.9, perfectly fine in my books. Jonathan Huberdeau, this is a genuinely horrible deal. 7 years left at $10.5 million. If you watch my worst contracts list, I have it as the worst contract in the entire NHL. So obviously he's going to get an F after putting up 52 points in 81 games after 56 last year, making legit superstar money. It's just an overall horrendous deal by the Calgary Flames, who almost single-handedly had to go into a rebuild because of it. We got Alexander Barkov, 6 years at $10 million. I'm teetering between an A plus and an A. I think I'm going to land on an A just because he is going to be 29 at the start of next month. So it is going to cover most of his 30s. I think he's going to age very good. But when looking at him right now, he is a $12 to $13 million player, Selke level, 90-ish point pace, and really solidified himself last year as a true playoff performer, rising to the occasion. He's fantastic. Great contract, teetering on an A plus. But as of right now, I'm going to just go with an A. I know I might get some comments saying that it's an easy A+. I understand. I 1,000% understand if you do have him as an A+. Next up, Jack Eichel. 2 years left at $10 million. A-. When he's healthy, this is probably an A. He's a $12-ish million guy, but he hasn't really been able to stay healthy. When he is healthy, though, around 40 goal, 50 assists, 90 point pace, very good defensively. He's a legit top 10 center for me. So as a result, A-. Only 2 years left, not a ton of term left. He's going to get some mega deal. He's probably going to get like $12.5 million, and rightfully so on his next contract. But as of right now, the Vegas Golden Knights have him at a very good price for the next 2 seasons. Next up, we got Sergei Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky gets a B-. 2 years left at $10 million. I know he's been so good in the playoffs. He was very good in the regular season this year. He still is the highest paid goalie in the entire NHL, active at least. Carey Price makes $10.5 million, but he still is the highest paid guy. And although yes, the playoffs, I think that's more so. Last year he did carry. This year he played good, but Florida was also just an absolute wagon. B-, maybe a B. I don't know. It's not some massive overpayment like it was before the 2023 playoffs. It was probably like a D-, but now it's solid. It's a B-. You wish that he was making around like $7.58 million, but at $10 million, it's definitely not the end of the world for the Florida Panthers, who have gone pretty far in the playoffs despite him making $10 million the last 2 years. Tyler Seguin, 3 years, $9.85 million. This is a bad contract. This almost made my bottom 10 worst. I'm going to have it as a D. He bounced back this season with 52 points in 68 games, but still at $9.85 million for just like a good second liner. He's probably, if he was signing a fair market deal right now, a 3-year contract, it would probably be like $6 million, maybe 6.5, maybe the contract that Claude Giroux got, but I don't think he's better than Claude Giroux. So in looking at it, he's going to be overpaid by around $3 to $4 million the next 3 seasons. Not good, not horrible for the Dallas Stars, like say a year or two ago when it looked like he was never turning it around and honestly going downhill, but still very bad for the Dallas Stars. They might have to find a way to move off this contract in a year or two to retain some of their guys that are going to rightfully so need pretty big paydays. Johnny Gaudreau, 5 years, $9.5 million. This gets a D as well when looking at him. 60 points this year after having 74 the year before. 5 years left. He's 31 years old, so this takes him until he's 35, 36 years old. It's not good right now. 12 goals last year. That is brutal. Even though Johnny Gaudreau is not known for his goal scoring ability, he's around the $7 to $8 million guy right now, probably maybe 8.5. Second to last, we got Sebastian Aho, 8 years, $9.75 million. I'm going to go with an A on this. 8 years, 9.75. They got him locked up. He is 27 years old, so you're going to catch some of those mid-30s, but I think he's even then probably going to be worth around 9.75. He's a guy that gives you 85 to 95 point pace while also being fantastic defensively, the best player on the Carolina Hurricanes. So the fact that they have so much term on him, and it's already very good value right now, I think that he could easily be putting up around 90-point seasons on this contract. It's going to age very good for the Carolina Hurricanes. And then lastly is Zach Werenski, who has 4 years left at $5.8 million. If you've been following me for a while, you know I really like Zach Werenski's game. I think that he is a fringe top 10 defenseman when this guy is healthy. This season, 57 points in 70 games on a brutal Columbus team with pretty solid underlying numbers. So I'm going to go with a B. I think a B is fair. I think this is about market value. He's 27 years old, so this isn't some 8-year contract that's going to take him into his mid-30s. The next 4 years, he should be a legit number 1 defenseman. Right now in the NHL, a legit solid number 1 defenseman gets around $9.58 million. A guy like Dahlin, he gets 11. Obviously, Werenski is not Dahlin. So I think at 9.58, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly good, in my opinion, for Zach Werenski. And as a result, he gets a B on the grade. But here's the full 1 through 10. Wow, he gave Austin Matthews an A, even though he's making so much goddamn money. 11 through 20. This dude hates the Carolina Hurricanes. He only has Sebastian Aho at an A. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? I'll be seeing the next one.